Welcome to the show. Wait, this feels familiar. All right, just listen, shit happens. It's technical difficulties, folks. Thank you for hanging out with us. Millions of you watching at home, sitting there being like, what happened to the feed? Don't worry, we're so back. That's what the kids say, right? We're so back. Special thanks there to Jay Woods. He is Chief Global Strategist at Freedom Capital Markets, a good friend of mine from the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. Don't worry, folks. We're going to post the full interview with Jay up on YouTube and our social channels because you don't want to miss what he has to say. We're very grateful for his time. But at this hour, because it's 7:27, let's meet our guests tonight because they've been eagerly waiting since before 7 o'clock. Let's say hello to them. Kay Smythe making her first appearance on the show. She's the head writer for Million Voices, former news and commentary at The Daily Caller. And also joining us here is Jeremiah Johnson. He's founder of Center for New Liberalism. Kay, Jeremiah, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
Jeremiah's making his return appearance on the show. Jeremiah, I can't believe you wanted to come back and do this again. You wanted some more of the good stuff, huh?
Just for you, I've got the Brooklyn Brewery tonight,
Let's
JD.
Go.
So
Let's go. I love that. Sometimes we do like a beer check. What do we call it? Beer run at the top of the show. Beer run at the top of the show. So that's awesome. That's very welcomed. Very cool. And oh yeah, and Kay Smythe rocking the big Stanley. Is it a Yeti or a Stanley?
It is a Stanley. I didn't buy it for myself. I think we're talking about the economy today, right? I would never spend money on something like this for myself. But it was a gift and I love it and I'm obsessed with it. But yeah, I'm trying to give up drinking for Lent and it's not going great, but I'm really trying.
Yeah, well, listen, very admirable. I more than understand it. And so the Stanley Cup is welcome. And either of the Stanley Cups are welcome here. And now I'm being handed a Mexican beer. I'm also being handed an American beer in the spirit of tariffs here. We've got Victoria, Cerveza Victoria from our neighbors to the south. And Pabst is, I should know this, Wisconsin? This is a Wisconsin beer, right? Yeah, it is. Let's go. We are cooking. La Crosse, Wisconsin. So shout out to the good folks. No disrespect to our friends in the South. I'm cracking a PBR tonight. To Kay's point, we are kicking things off with the economy as we let off at the top of the show. So Kay, because you're here for the first time, let's start with you. Trump, obviously, the president pushing for higher tariffs. Mexico, Canada, as well as China. What's your thought about how this helps American workers? Are we a little too focused on the knee-jerk reactions in the stock market? How do you view in tariff policy, Kay?
Well, I feel like we've probably been fucked for like a really long time, like well before any of this. I hate to be, I'm a very like doom and gloom person. Like I always think the apocalypse is on the way, but from the kind of mindset of like, what's the best way to like prepare for that? Because I think having spent time with politicians, with lawmakers, with the people who work for them, I don't trust them to keep me alive. I don't like from any party. I just don't. And so when everyone starts sort of freaking out about tariffs, all of this kind of stuff. I mean, firstly, I think we've gone way too far with consumerism anyway. We all have way too much stuff, a lot of stuff we don't need. We make a lot of stuff we don't need. We build a lot of stuff we don't need. And we don't focus on the stuff that we actually do need to be self-sufficient and sustain ourselves in these systems that we've built. And I think one of the biggest systems that's about to actually collapse is housing, whether that's through just like pure stagnation or through what's happened over the last couple of years, like the way that people have been spending. I think we're going to see a lot of foreclosures. I think the middle class could completely disappear by the end of this decade, actually, the way that things are going. So I think the tariffs, sure, dude, whatever, chuck them in there. You might as well. There's so much going wrong, you know, whatever. Like, I don't care anymore. So I don't know if that's like necessarily, I know I'm supposed to be like more conservative with it, but when it comes to the economy, I'm just like, no, we are actually fucked.
It's actually a killer response. The spirit of the show is common threads, common ground. Jeremiah, I have a sneaking suspicion there's at least some of what Kay just said that you might say, yeah, man, fuck that. Absolutely. Jeremiah, your thoughts?
I mean, I'm trying to process, I guess, the point of view that is basically, well, life is too good and we all have too much stuff. And so, we buy too much stuff. Maybe we should just have less and we're all screwed anyway. That's not typically how I think about things. I think things are good and when we should have more nicer things. I would like for society to have more cooler stuff. I would like for us to be able to build more housing and more infrastructure, and let's build more green energy, and let's make cool technological advances and invent some new drugs that help lose weight automatically and cure cancer. All of that I think is good. So when I see the stock market tanking, I think that's a bad thing, I guess. And I was listening to your interview with the markets guy, and not to belittle him at all, but professional stock trader says, well, stocks are going to go up, is a great, amazing insight there. But I think that what's happening here is important because the stock market has tanked not for mysterious reasons. It's tanking for a very specific reason, which is that Trump's tariffs are just unspeakably stupid. They are there's very little that economists of all stripes agree on sometimes, liberal economists, conservative economists, you've even got a couple socialists in there somewhere. But one thing that you see everywhere, from Paul Krugman on the left to you want to talk about Milton Friedman or Thomas Sowell or Brian Kaplan on the right, everybody agrees that tariffs are stupid. I looked up a poll. They polled high-level economists at different U.S. universities. Do Trump's tariffs on aluminum and steel make sense? And 93% said no, they are a bad idea. 7% did not return the questionnaire. So, it's pretty much a clean sweep. They're just, sometimes I like to say that tariffs are a policy of shooting yourself in the foot in the hopes that the bullet will also ricochet and hit someone else. And it's just pain for no reason. There is no long-term gain to be had here. There's no oh, it's going to hurt now and later we'll see the benefits. It's just short-term pain so that we can have even more pain in the long term.
Sure. Comment here from Tony99. Tell us how taxing your own citizens for purchasing products is good. That's what tariffs do. I think we're all more or less in agreement here. Kay, I wonder, is there a risk here? I go back to the results of the election, 7 for 7 in the swing states. Trump calls it a mandate. What I'm not really interested in, the definition of a mandate, but he did win the popular vote. He did not lose a single swing state. Is there a risk here, Kay, from the economy, from the headline, from tariffs in general, that we can't forget? We got midterm elections coming up next year. They're going to be here way before we know it. The margins for the Republican Party are already teeny tiny in both chambers, especially the House of Representatives. Is there a risk here already to kind of pushing out some of these voters that Republicans need if they were going to stay in power past the midterms?
So I don't know. I don't know where